Y'all know the deal. Rider questions answered. If you have a question in the future you want me to answer, you can drop them on the chat right here. I try to answer those. On yammynoob.co on the Discord server, you can always drop me a question on there. I'll answer it. And these were collected from YouTube. Producer Logan does a great job on this live stream. He got them from YouTube, from Discord, all kinds of different places. So we will get started. Memento FX on YouTube has asked me, thoughts on Royal Enfield's EV? So if you guys didn't hear about this, Royal Enfield basically launched a new brand, which I thought was interesting. It's called the Flying Flea. And I think that this is much more of a... It almost looks like an electric bicycle than a true motorcycle. And I think that they're gunning for that mass market transportation play. I could really see Royal Enfield trying to reach, the mass market of India with this Flying Flea project rather than, trying to sell it to Americans. Because I don't think the range is that great. I think it's much more of a, I guess, meant to be like a bop around, run around, urban type of thing. I'm not sure if I'm sold on the name. Flying Flea is a little strange. I'm not sure if I love the naming, but I think it's pretty cool that they're doing it, and it's going to be a cool test bed for them to try stuff out. I remember I spoke with the CEO of Royal Enfield at the Himalayan launch, and we were chatting a little bit about Royal Enfield's EV plans, and he was like, "I got big things in the works. I can't tell you," and it must have been this Flying Flea project. So. Pretty sweet. Next question, Caden Ramey on YouTube has asked, "Hey Yam, what do you think is the best state for motorcycling?" I'm sure people on chat would have very, very storied opinions about this and probably defend their state with their best intentions. So we'll do U.S. states because I can't do global. And I think we can already, right off the bat, eliminate a lot of states that get cold, right? I don't think a state that, has 5 months of winter where you can't ride is good to ride in. So I'm going to eliminate a lot of those. So we're looking at like southern U.S. and then maybe West Coast as well. I think if we're optimizing for motorcycle only, I know y'all aren't going to like me for saying this, but California really is. If you've never ridden in California, it is just simply stunning. It's beautiful. You ride through Malibu, you ride through the canyons, you have off-road, you have track days, you have perfect weather year-round, and it's why it's extremely expensive to live there, because if you live near the coast, it is extremely nice. So that's kind of a detractor, is that it's heinously expensive to live in California. They also have very tight emissions laws, so if you want to run a super cool exhaust, you're probably going to run into issues. So I'm not sure that California... would be the best for everybody. But I think if you're optimizing just for motorcycling, it's a pretty sweet state. I almost moved there because I loved it so much, but ultimately I wanted to be close to my family here in Texas. I think that if you wanted to go a little bit different, truthfully, there's some areas in Tennessee and North Carolina that could actually be incredible for motorcycle riding as well. They get a little colder in the winter, but I don't think they fully shut down. So it could be, pretty good if you live sort of East Tennessee, maybe North Carolina. Nashville, I hear, is a really cool city, and there's some really nice, cool, mountainous roads out there. You're pretty close to Tail of the Dragon, if memory serves me correctly. So it's possible that some states southeast could work well, but again, maybe not a good fit for everybody. It's very forested and narrow and kind of claustrophobic feeling. But, could be that. Two Old Capo, back me up here, North Carolina. Great spot. I think the Malamoto here says, Florida sucks, but you ride all year. I would not recommend to anyone to move to Florida for riding motorcycles unless you want to get a stretched Busa and just do highway pulls. Florida is a flat, sad, humid, awful state. I lived there when I was a kid, and I never want to go back to Florida. They can keep it. They can keep that state. Sorry for all the Floridians on chat. Missing Agent 188 on YouTube has asked, what do you think about the new Triumph Speed Twin 900 48 horsepower as a first motorcycle? So I assume the 48 horsepower is an A2 license restricted Triumph Speed Twin 900. That's something they do over there in Europe, where you can actually get, I think it's a throttle restrictor or an ECU restriction to make it so that It's you know, not as powerful, and you can ride it. Great option. You know, I think the Speed Twin 900, even without it being restricted, is it can work as a first bike. It's a very docile parallel twin. It's not particularly like rip your face off fast. It's really not fast at all. It's just it's kind of a nice cruiser, you know, like it's just a nice cruiser, and it's just like a really, really sweet motorcycle. So I think if you did get one that was throttle restricted, it's a beautiful bike. It sounds cool. I think you'd get a lot of respect and admiration from your peers, and women would fawn around you. Men would respect you. Fish would fear you. So yeah, get the Speed Twin 900, 48 horsepower as your first motorcycle. People backing me up on the chat with North Carolina. Producer Logan is from North Carolina, and I'm always a bit jealous when I look on Google Maps of where he is, and I'm like, there's so many good roads near you. God, I have to live in flat Dallas, Texas. This is just so sad. All right, Walking Cake on YouTube has asked, hey, Yam, what is the oldest bike you've ever ridden? Now, that honor goes to the Yamaha VMAX. I rode an original first-year Yamaha VMAX. We did a comparison between new VMAX and old VMAX. That was a really fun video. And I want to say that was like a 1985, so 40 years old at this point, 39 years old. So yeah. Hey, Logan on chat, North Carolina, backing it up. It's a good state, man. I want to come visit. I bet you if I'd visited enough of North Carolina, I would have been like, I'm just going to move out here. This is great. I love Asheville. Asheville's such a cool spot. I hope they're doing okay after the hurricanes. I know that they're still recovering out there. All right, Drew Triple Q on YouTube. Thoughts on MotoGP 24? Now, I'm not sure if this is asking about the season of MotoGP or if it's just asking me about, I think there's a video game of MotoGP 24. I'm going to answer it from the MotoGP 24 perspective, just like the actual season. I'll give you some quick highlights. Let's start at the top. Jorge Martin, satellite bike, going to win the championship probably this Sunday. How cool is that? He deserves it. Really kind of a strange championship with Pecco having won so many races, but having flubbed it so many times. He's going to be the first guy to win 10 races and to not win the championship because of the sprint format too. Now, I already see some comments of people saying that Jorge's not a real champion because he didn't win enough real races. I think that's BS. Jorge won in the way that he needed to. And also, if you think about it, it's insane how many races that they have. They have every weekend there's a sprint race and a real race. These guys are racing like 40 times a year. It's insane. Like, 10 years ago, you'd race like 15 times a year. You race 40 times a year. It's crazy. So anyways, the duel between them is really cool. The GP24 is dominant. And I think it's really sick that Marc Marquez has found himself third place on a year-old Ducati. That guy is just all class, all talent. It's incredible to see. And of course, baby alien, the shark, Mr. Pedro Acosta. I'm a huge fan. Love seeing that kid ride. I think he's got tons of talent. Super, super fun. I can't wait to see what he does with the full factory support. He wants it so bad. I love to see that insane hunger and drive. You see a rider like that and you look at the other guys and you're like, are you even trying, bro? But then you realize that Pedro and Mark and Jorge, and they're just built different. There's something different about it. So, yeah. Look at this Tommy guy talking trash on stream. Says he loves the content, but sometimes it feels like he's just pulling videos out of his ass because of nothing really to make a video about so often. I do enjoy the vids, but it is kind of rinsed. You got to remember, my friend, that there's always new people coming into motorcycling. The reason we make videos that appear to be recycled is that there's always new people. And people, for some reason, don't use the search bar very often. So we just try to make stuff that is relevant and topical and fun in motorcycling to get more people excited about it. And sure, sometimes it can seem like the same topics come up over and over again, but that kind of happens in every hobby and niche. If you're into any other thing on social media, whether it be cycling or video games or computers or firearms or whatever you guys are into, people talk about the same stuff over and over and over again. And, I keep getting the same questions over and over again every year that I do this. So, just one of those things. Captain Vargas 70 on YouTube has asked, what are your thoughts on the Yamaha TW200? You know what? I'm going to put this to a poll because I think that people will back me up here. Is the TW200, oh my goodness, goated? Because I think the TW200 really is goated. I think it's fantastic. The reason I think it's fantastic is because there's nothing quite like it on the market. It is this weird, like, farm bike, fat rear tire, like, dumpy little thing. It's so cool. Like, there's really nothing like a TW200, and they're just fun or interesting or weird. And I love that it's still being made. I think it's insane that Yamaha didn't keep making the WR250R, but they kept making the TW200. That really tells me that other people really love that bike and really want to do stuff with it too. The T-Dub is fantastic. You can literally just plow through anything with the TW200. You can just farm bike and you can literally just sit on the bike and just like motor through any terrain. It's awesome. So yeah, I love the T-Dub. I've wanted one for years, but it's just, I don't live in a place that would make sense to own a TW200. Like, really, a TW200 is perfect for like rural farmland and those kind of places. I think that if you are near some off-roading areas where you just want to trundle around, it's perfect. So yeah, I love the TW200. 70% of people backing me up saying T-Dub is goated. T-Dub is awesome. Saying that it will not die. I agree. Hey folks, I hope you're enjoying this Yammie Noob Livestream clip. Remember, every Wednesday at 6 p.m. Central, right here on YouTube, I do the streams. If you want a chance to participate in the live streams, head over to YammieNoob.co and become a member. You'll get access to our Discord server, automatic entries to win our giveaway motorcycles, and access to our newsletter as well. It's a great way to support the show. It's like a bike night that never ends over there. It's a lot of fun, and I'm on there all the time. Join as a member on YammieNoob.co and support the show. All right. Half bolted on 9162 has asked me, is an SV650 a good track bike, or should I just spend the money on a more dedicated super sport for the track? Great question. Nuanced answer here. I think it depends on your skill set, right? If you are just getting started, or even if you're kind of an intermediate edging up to an expert level rider, an SV650 is an incredible platform. People know everything about them. They're pretty bulletproof, and you can go really fast on an SV650. You can plop down some seriously fast times on an SV650. They're really, really solid bikes. I've seen guys do insane things with SV650s. The caveat there is that unless you buy it already prepped, it is a ton of work to get those to really do what they need to do on track. You got to do suspension. Some guys do different subframes and plastics and geometry and clip-ons and just, there's so much you got to do. So if you can find one 30 prepped, great. I would say don't get a stock one and try to turn it into a track bike because it's a lot of work. If you are already very experienced at track days, you're involved in some racing maybe, I think that dollar for dollar, there's no better platform than a super sport. A classic Japanese 600. It doesn't matter which one you pick, a ZX6, a Gixxer, an R6. They're just perfect, and they work so well, and you don't need any other bike. You could just get a 600, and you will never outride that motorcycle because you can see what the expert club guys do with 600s. You'll be like, I will never reach those lap times, so it doesn't matter. So I would say that would be my kind of nuanced answer with this. Safety Third on YouTube. Tips on buying / selling / trading bikes. It seems like you have a lot of experience with that. So I do have quite a bit of experience buying and selling bikes. I have never traded a motorcycle. I got close one time. Those 2 bricks of cocaine just looked really damn good, and the guy said that he would take my bike, but I ultimately decided against it. Just kidding. I didn't almost trade my bike for drugs. But I have bought and sold many, many motorcycles. And I would say, I think we've made videos on this, but I'll give you kind of a quick rundown. The tips for me for buying it, unless you really know the dealership and you can get like actual good deals because you've bought so many bikes from them, like me, really the dealership is there to just extract maximum value out of you. I've seen absolutely diabolical bills of sales on our Discord server of people asking like, oh, does this seem fair? Does this seem like a bike I should buy? Does this bill of sale make sense from the dealership? It never does. It never does. I've seen $1,500 dock fees. I've seen $1,600 freight and prep. I mean, just crazy stuff. So I would say if you're going to try to buy used, buy it off with somebody. That's usually a better way to do it. But, there's caveats with that, right? If you buy, used, you got to make sure you find the right deal, find the right bike. Otherwise, it can be a giant headache. Got to make sure the title's in good shape. Selling it is pretty straightforward. Just list it at a fair price on Facebook Marketplace. Do not be one of those people that posts up an insane price. If your wife wants you to sell and you don't actually want to sell, and you could put it up at a high price, I'm not going to tell anybody. I won't tell you, that's a good tactic. Be like, oh, honey, it just won't sell. Put it at a fair price. Take great photos. Put effort into a well-written description. If you are illiterate, use ChatGPT, my friend. Try to find a way that it is actually legible. Do not take crazy cell phone pictures where your hand is covering up the license plate. Put some effort into selling it. Be an adult. That's what I would recommend. Streets and Peaks 3013 has asked, any given day, would you rather ride the Scrambler Desert Sled or the Aprilia? I have a Street Fighter and a Dual Sport, and I still secretly want the Fast House Desert Sled. Man, great question. And I don't even know how to answer it, honestly, because I've been riding the Aprilia a lot. I haven't really ridden the Sled, so if you were to look at the evidence, right, of what bike I'm riding, certainly I'm riding the Aprilia a lot more, just because it's newer. I'm trying to get a feel for it. I'm trying to understand it. But the Desert Sled is special. It just has that grumbly air-cooled quality to it. It's just unique, and it's just torquey. That Desmo Twin is just great. I still have it. If it makes you feel bad, I haven't sold it, so clearly I don't want to sell it. I just love the bike so much. So I think any day I'd probably be on the Aprilia, but the Scrambler does hold a special place in my heart. It's just such a sweet bike. There's really nothing quite like it, honestly. Really, really sweet. All right, Captain One Ironaut. Wow, that's kind of a crazy... My brain looked at the middle of that and said, Andrea Iannone? I couldn't read that. Ultra Squid here. What are some common things to look out for if I wanted to buy a beginner bike off of Facebook Marketplace? Okay, well, how could you be a squid if you're buying your first motorcycle? You have to have some motorcycling experience if you would like to be a squid. That's the first thing I would tell you. But some common things to look out for if you wanted to buy a beginner bike off of Facebook Marketplace. It's the classic stuff, right? We've done this a lot in the It Came From Craigslist videos. The photos have to look good, and the description has to be in correct grammar and legible English. If both of those are already good, the bike is already good, right? You can see a lot about the owner depending on how the photos are set up, what type of grammar you have, that sort of thing. If you have a motorcycle that you got the weird photos and you can't tell what's wrong with it or blah, 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 look for something that's close to stock, good photos, a well-written description, and not too high miles. You'll be fine. Especially if it's Japanese, like a Ninja 400, people can't kill those things, dude. I'll give an example of how unkillable a Ninja 400 is for a beginner bike, right? I raced a Ninja 400 2 different years, in 2020 and 2023. But the bike that I raced in 2020 was raced in 2021, I think. And I believe that at that race in 21, I think it was the first round of the CMRA season. Sorry, I'm having to call upon a memory here. That bike ran accidentally on track without any coolant in it. It was basically air cooled. It ran on track at redline, at race pace for 5 hours until it seized and blew up. So if that tells you anything, it tells you how ridiculously bulletproof a Japanese beginner bike is. That you can run it without coolant at redline, at race pace until it seizes up. So something to think about, All right, boys, that's the questions answered. Once again, if you want me to answer your questions in the future, go to yammie.co, become a member, join the community, get involved. It's a ton of fun. And we'll appreciate it. All right, guys, our time on this video has come to a close. But if you want to keep the conversation going, head over to yammie.co and become a member. I can talk to you on the Discord server. It's a lot of fun. You get access to behind-the-scenes content. And best of all, entries to win the giveaway bikes. Like this one right here. It's coming to a close. So while you're waiting on that next video to queue up on your feed, make sure you become a member on yammie.co. And that way, you get entered to win this bike. And the next bike. And the next bike. Because 2025 is going to be crazy. There's going to be so many bikes coming and going. It's just nuts.